Yeah.
Bless you, Allison.
Well, thank you.
Of course. All right, I have about a minute after one. So in respect of everyone's time, y'all are here. So let's go ahead and get started. So welcome, welcome. We are so glad that you're here. My name is Ann Gluff, and I am part of the member engagement team here at Partners. So again, thanks for joining us for our monthly Partners Cafe. So also part of the member engagement team that has joined us on our panel. When I say your name, if y'all can just give a wave, that would be great. So we have Beth Brooks, my partner in crime, team lead, Allison Crotty, our director, Derek Bittner, member engagement specialist, and Melissa Hatton, ME specialist. I see we also have Latasha Scott and Delton Russell. So thank you all for being here. And I'm going to introduce our guest speakers in just a moment. I wanted to let you know that we are offering today's session in closed captioning. So if you don't need this feature, you can simply hover over the live transcript and click hide subtitle. You should find this toward the bottom of your screen. So today we have, again, I mentioned our guest speakers. You all know, I'm sure, that our subject today is about human trafficking. So before we get started, I wanted just to share a few housekeeping items. So one thing is this is being recorded. So please don't share any sensitive or personal information. You want to be careful on that. Partner staff is still available after the call for individuals' issues if you want to discuss. We can also set up a time for one-on-one if you need to talk. So the recording and the PowerPoint slides will be available on our website at partnersbhm.org under the Member Education tab. You'll see several tabs across the top horizontally. You're going to click on Member Engagement or the Member tab to get there. So during our session, what we'll do is our speakers will go ahead and share their information, and I want y'all to feel free to pop questions into the Q&A feature, which you're going to find at the bottom for question and answers. And then we will have time for question and answers when they're done speaking. And we'll take care of those at that time. Also at that time, if you prefer to speak out loud versus typing into the Q&A, you can use the raise your hand feature, which you'll see also at the bottom. So if we want to go ahead and move on to the next slide, then what I would love to do is introduce our guest speakers. All right. There we go. All right, so go ahead a little bit to the next one. You'll see one with Jeannie and Amber's name on it. All right, so Jeannie Patterson and Amber are both from Partners Health Management. My notes have disappeared on my screen here, so I'm going to go with what I know. Jeannie, I know, has been with Partners for some time now. She has a lot of background in working with individuals with trauma, as does Amber Matthews. Amber's been with Partners for about, I believe it was earlier in 2021 that she joined us. So it's my pleasure to introduce them. They are subject matter experts on human trafficking and their system of care community training coordinators. So welcome, Jeannie and Amber, and I'll let y'all take it from here.
So welcome everyone, and thank you to the Member Engagement Department for inviting us to be here today. Human trafficking is, of course, an issue that is very important and very tragic. This is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, so this is a good time for us to be talking about this subject. I would encourage all of you to take care of yourselves today. So if we talk about something that causes you to feel some kind of distress, please take a moment if you need, even if you need to step away for a moment or just take a moment to take a breath and maybe think about something that's calming to you. And as Anne has already said, there are people who can talk to you if you are concerned after our presentation today. So I think we're ready to get started. If we can get to the next slide.
Okay, and Amber, I am turning control over to you.
So during this brief time today, we're going to talk about what trafficking is, what that means when we talk about trafficking, and then we're going to get right to the subject matter of talking about domestic minor sex trafficking. And this is young people in the United States who are being trafficked in order to provide sexual services to someone. Then Amber is going to talk to you about online safety and how we can help our children to be safe during this time. And then we're going to share some resources with you. And also we will be emailing you some other handouts that you can use if you want to know more about some of these subjects and about the resources that are available, particularly around online safety. So this is the National Human Trafficking Hotline. So anytime anyone has a suspicion that someone is being trafficked, whether that is for labor or for sexual services, you can call this number, or you can also text it. This site is maintained by, or this phone line is maintained by the Polaris Project. Polaris is the name of the North Star, which is associated with freedom from slavery. So anyone can call this line. I just recently read that they're actually now saying they're getting many more text messages than they used to. So this is becoming the preferred way that people can reach this line. But if you call that line, if you have a suspicion about someone being trafficked, if there's enough information to start it, it will actually start a federal investigation to find out what's going on and to protect people. So sometimes if you read in the paper or hear on the news about a trafficking ring that was broken up, it probably may have started with a phone call to this line. Also want to mention, and this is very important, and that is that if you believe the person is under age 18, then it is also very appropriate and actually mandatory to contact the Department of Social Services. And the Department of Social Services in the county and the state where that young person is has jurisdiction over that juvenile at that time. So definitely call social services. They of course work with law enforcement and can, if need be, work with the national line to see that some of the people are kept safe. So here's the definition. This is the federal definition. This was from the Trafficking Violence Prevention Act of 2000. And so it breaks down trafficking into two forms. The first is a commercial sex act, which includes happening by force, fraud, or coercion. So that's the first part. And actually, for almost all trafficking, force, fraud, or coercion has to be part of what's happening. But then a really important second part is, or in which the person induced to perform that act, that sexual act, is under age 18. If you think about that for a moment, what that's saying is that we know that anyone under age 18 cannot legally consent to have sex. They also cannot legally be charged with prostitution or with soliciting. So anytime someone under age 18 is involved in any kind of prostitution or any kind of sex for sale, it is by definition, by legal definition, it is trafficking. So that's very important. And again, that's where bringing social services in is very helpful to that. And then the other piece of trafficking is also the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services. Again, using force, fraud, or coercion, and for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude. So basically, this is labor. So two parts of trafficking are for sex or for labor, or sometimes for both. So talking about domestic minor sex trafficking, again, young people in the United States who are being sold for sex. Here's some statistics on that. About 83% of the people who are involved in trafficking are American citizens. It is a $9.5 billion business every year. There are estimated to be about 300 children who are at risk, and I will qualify that number. This is a pre-COVID number, and my concern is, as we are all working from home and have, particularly when we had children who were doing schooling at home, online, that sort of thing, I think the number is probably higher because it's possible that more of our children are online with less supervision from the parents at this time. So that increases the number of children who are at risk. Typically, the age of entry into being trafficked is about 13 or 14 years old. And I mentioned the National Trafficking Hotline earlier. North Carolina is in the top 10% of the calls to the National Trafficking Hotline. And actually, we were, last I heard, we were the 6th in the number of calls to the trafficking hotline. And the next slide shows you a map of where those calls come in from. Of course, I think it makes sense that where there are more urban areas, where there are more people, then of course there are more calls coming in. But you see there the calls around the United States. And I would invite you, if you would like to express an opinion. I do not have an official answer for this. I have my own opinion, but why would you think, and you can put this in the, I believe in the Q&A, is that right, folks? You can just answer it in the Q&A. Why do you think that North Carolina has so many calls coming into the hotline? I'll give you just a moment to do that, to answer that. And again, this is opinion. There's no right or wrong answer.
So Jeannie, I have one comment here. Military bases, ports, interstates.
Absolutely right. I think those are all great answers. In fact, no one has ever mentioned military bases, but that's a really good point that we do have those. We have great interstates. We also have airports as well, some major airports. So I think all those things play into why we have so many calls. I would like to, and again, this is my opinion, but I would like to think also that maybe we in North Carolina, we do a better job of talking about trafficking and making people aware, and maybe, hopefully, my hope is that people are more aware and are making calls for that reason as well. But again, that's an opinion, and thank you folks for answering that. Melissa, was there anything else that came in? Any other opinions?
There was one other comment that said, because we have major cities and interstates, so very similar.
Great, thanks, Anne. Great, okay. But thank you for your opinions, folks. So when we talk about how traffickers do this, it starts with someone who recruits someone. These are people who are very highly skilled in manipulating people, learning, getting to know them, and sort of romancing them. They're also able to figure out what it is people need and meet that need. So if it's a boyfriend or if it's a daddy or whatever it is, they can be there to meet that need. And then once they've recruited that person, then harboring is just actually keeping that person with you, transporting them from place to place, and then providing the service. And then the last one they're obtaining is that trafficking would not be the billions of dollars of business that it is if there weren't people who were willing to pay to have sex with a younger person. So that's the obtaining part of that. And again, the means for doing that is force, fraud, or coercion. So if someone is soliciting someone for sex, if they are not being forced, or if they haven't gotten involved in it fraudulently, or they're not being coerced into it, then it is not trafficking. That piece of it has to be in place in order for it to be trafficking. So here's some samples of people who might be at risk. People who live in unstable living situations, where there's a history of domestic violence, or someone in the family who abuses substances. Definitely young people. This is one of the higher risks. The next one here, people who are runaways, who are involved with juvenile justice or the foster care system. Those are all young people who are at the highest risk for being trafficked. And again, think about young people who may not have secure attachments to family or to friends. They may be a little bit on the outside or on the fringe. And so they don't have a support system in place to maybe help them feel connected and feel loved. And so those are young people who are definitely at high risk. Undocumented immigrants are at risk, of course, and again, are less likely to seek help because of fear of what will happen if they contact authorities. Definitely people who are in poverty or have an economic need. Also, going back to those runaways often get involved because they need help in order to have a place to live or to have food. Often there is a history of sexual abuse, and again, that has sort of been normalized for them, that this is my life, that this is going to be happening to me. And often they are addicted to substances as well. So some common kinds of work and living conditions that might be noticed for people who are being trafficked, that you might notice if you might be aware that someone is being trafficked. Definitely, of course, if they're providing sexual acts, or if they're providing work in exchange for services or some kind of benefits. If they appear not to be free to come and go as they wish, so if they it feels as if maybe they're fearful and they're answering to someone else, for example. As I said earlier, anytime anyone under age 18 is providing a paid sex act, that is trafficking. They may have someone who is a pimp or a manager, and you may not know that, but what you might notice is there is someone with them who doesn't want to leave their side and who may answer for them. So you ask a question and this other person answers for them. They may be being paid very little, or being paid in cash. You might notice they're working long or unusual hours. They may not have breaks or have unusual restrictions at work. And often what happens in trafficking is that the trafficker keeps an account of costs for transportation and living expenses and food, those kinds of things. And then they inflate that and add it to a bill that this person has to pay before they'll be free to leave. Other things you might notice, physical signs. Sometimes you might notice someone might appear now malnourished if their trafficker is perhaps withholding food as a punishment for them. If they're in school or at work, you may notice unexplained absences. That you might appear fearful. You might notice injuries that the person can't explain, bruises, that kind of thing. Again, if they don't appear to have control over where they're going and what they're doing. And sometimes traffickers will tattoo the people they're trafficking. So you might notice a tattoo, an initial or a dollar sign, or sometimes even a barcode. And what better way to say that this is my property than to tattoo a barcode on another person. Some things you might notice behaviorally is that they may say that they're just visiting, or they can't really tell you where they're living. They may not even really know what city they're in at the time. If that trafficker is taking them to another city to be trafficked, they may not even really be aware of where they are, may not have a sense of time. And you may notice that their story doesn't add up or doesn't make sense. And so again, there's the reminder of the National Trafficking Hotline that you can call if you suspect someone's being trafficked. So now I'm going to turn it over to Amber to talk to us a little bit about online safety.
And please forgive me, I keep getting a notification that my internet is unstable. So I am here. I just have my camera cut off for technical issues. So thanks, Jeannie. So we're going to talk a little bit about sextortion and the dangers and conversations that we need to be having around technology and social media. So before we get started, I want to go through what the definition of sextortion is. It is a form of blackmail where there is some sort of sexualized consequence associated with that. So if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to release these inappropriate pictures and send them to your family and friends. If you don't do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to recruit some of your friends to get involved with the sex trafficking that's going on. So whatever that may look like for that individualized person, sometimes that those traffickers will use sex in some sort of blackmail way, which is a result of sextortion. Who are victims of that? Here's some numbers. 1 in 4 victims are 13 or younger when they're threatened with some sort of sextortion. And then 2 in 3 girls have been threatened with that by the age of 16. So just know that this is real and it's prevalent and it is everywhere with our young people specifically. Here are some common apps that our young people use these days. When I first started putting this research together, I started going through, the most prominent apps, and then quickly realized that that was extremely overwhelming and that there are new apps being developed every single second of every single day. So instead, I wanted to focus on just the things that are kind of up and coming, and also pictures of apps that you may see when you're walking by, your young person's cell phone and you look over their shoulder, just things for us to get familiarized with so that we know what the app is, how it works, and what the dangers of some of those things are. So here are some common apps that are used by young people. I'm not going to go through every single one of them for time purposes, but please know that Discord is a gaming app that is used with a lot of people that are into online gaming. There's connections made instantaneously all over the world. I have friends who are involved in it, and they literally talk about people that they know in California, and I'm like, are you sure you know who that person is? Anyway, but all of these apps can do that in different ways. Just as a highlight, I know most of us probably are on Instagram or are familiar with Instagram, but our young people have things called Finstagrams, which is a fake Instagram account. That's the one that they have their parents and their aunt and their uncle on, but they have a Renstagram, which is their real Instagram, where some of those inappropriate conversations and maybe more inappropriate pictures or more sexualized things happen. And so they actually keep those things completely separate. As you know, TikTok is the huge phenomenon right now. People are making millions and millions of dollars doing silly stuff on TikTok. And there's trends that come in and out of, oh, I saw this on TikTok, so I'm going to do it too. Sometimes those things are unsafe. Sometimes they're sexualized. You can get on TikTok in a span of less than 30 seconds and be connected with thousands of people across the entire world as well. So just so you know, like I said, these are all, I could talk specifically about each one of these, but if you do have young people in your life, in your community, in your family, whatever that may look like for you, make sure that if you are that responsible person for them, that responsible adult, that you're having conversations about these apps with your young people. We don't know who's on the other end of the phone. I know when I was growing up, one of the things that, we had, my mom didn't have those conversations with her mom because that just wasn't a threat. And so she kind of had to figure it out with me. And so this generation really has to start making sure that we're having conversations with our young people about technology. They're on their phones all the time. They're on their tablets all the time with virtual learning. They're on during school hours all the time. So just know that having these conversations is only going to help our young people and not hurt them, because they probably know a lot more about all of this than we even do. In saying that, there are apps designed to hide things from other people, especially, grown-ups and parents and adults that are in these young people's lives, and they want to make sure that they're hiding stuff from them. My favorite one to point out is that one that looks like a calculator, because I think that I would probably look at my young person and be like, oh, they're really into math. They're really good at geometry. They're really practicing their algebra. When in reality, that's a place where they house inappropriate pictures, inappropriate conversations. That's where they hide chats that they've had with people that they may not know who they're talking to on the other end, or may have that inappropriate relationship with. So just know that some of the apps are specifically designed to hide and disguise some of those things. There are also apps that can monitor some of the things that are happening on your young people's devices. Here are just a couple examples, and they are paid apps, but also I think that there's probably should be no price point put on the safety of our young people. But here are some examples. Some of the apps are designed to notify the administrator or the parental control if an app gets deleted from a kid's cell phone or device, or if they're watching YouTube videos that are inappropriate and that flag some specific titles or subject matters, and it will notify that parental contact whoever has that installed on their device and who's overseeing that. So just know that here's some examples. There are some apps that aren't listed here, but here are a couple good resources to look into if you're interested in doing that. Here are some other websites that Jeannie and I have done a lot of research with in regards to technology and safety. One of my favorite ones to use and just like mess around with and learn things on is Common Sense Media. They have a frequently asked questions section where it talks about specific apps. What's the appropriate age limit for that person, for a young person to be on? What are the dangers? What are the things that we need to be talking to our young people about if they are using that app? So just know that if you want to look into some of these resources, here are some good ones that we have found in just kind of expanding our knowledge base and learning about technology and the dangers and how it can be connected to things like sex trafficking. Just so you know, there is kind of this rule and fun saying that people say about talking to your kids about sex specifically, and also the online dangers. And it's called 8 is great. If you're not talking to your kids by the age of 8 about being safe online or things about sex than someone else is. I do another training specifically about preventing child sexual abuse, and these two things kind of go hand in hand because one of the professionals on there says that if you're not talking to your kid by 8, someone on the playground is. So you want to make sure that you're having those conversations. You want to make sure that you're the one that's telling them about these things so that you're the one that they come and ask questions to when they do have some sort of red flag happening on their device or in their online world that they have questions about. Another thing to think about, because if your kids or young people are older than 8 and they're kind of already been in this world of navigating technology and social media, is to remember to pay attention to your kids. One of the things that Jeannie mentioned earlier is that kids with low parental contact or low amount of adult relationships can be a easy target for people who are involved with human sex trafficking. So make sure that you're paying attention to your child's behavior, their appearance, just making sure that you're paying attention to the things that are going on with them, because, that cell phone is their lifeline. Their tablets are their lifeline. And they think that anything that happens has to happen through that cell phone. If that thing is not with them, then something, catastrophic is going to happen. So here are some examples of what online abuse can look like. If your kids are using language or terms that that you did not have with them, or you're like, where did you learn that? Ask questions, have those conversations, listen to the things that may not be age appropriate for your kids to be talking about or asking questions about. If they're mimicking some sort of behavior that seems a little not age appropriate, ask questions, say, let me see the video that you're talking about. If they're working on a TikTok trend, say, let me see the original video. So you want to make sure that you're listening for clues and watching for behavior changes so that you know and can kind of keep tabs on what's happening in their online world. Here are some more signs. If your kids are continuously taking phone calls in private spaces or consistently hiding the screen from you, if they're at the dinner table and their screen is always face down, that's something that could potentially be a red flag. If they are spending more and more time online, if they seem very tired all the time and they have access to their cell phones or their devices at night, that means that they might be staying up talking to people that they shouldn't be talking to online. If they're very vague about what's going on online and they don't really tell you a whole lot of anything, that can also be a red flag. If they're gone from home for long periods of times or have relationships with people who are much older, or someone, say that they have a relationship with someone online, those are the times we need to be having these hard conversations about online safety and who they're talking to through their online activity. Also, if they have a lot of new stuff and you're like, I did not give you the money for that, you don't have a job, how is this happening? That could be another example that maybe they are connected to someone online that they probably shouldn't be. Technology is a very, very, very easy recruitment tool. Like I said, we have these devices on us 24/7. We're easily connected, which in some ways is such a positive thing because we've been able to do things like this and work, remotely for the past several years because of the pandemic. But also there's always the challenging part of that as well. They're going to, these people are going to be looking for people who appear to have low parental contact, not a lot of relationships. They're going to be looking for someone to insinuate that they know or thinking a lot about sex. They're going to, maybe send links to your kids about pornography and just kind of normalizing those behaviors. And they're going to be looking for people who are more susceptible to having relationships with people because they're missing that in their real life, and they're seeking that connection through social media. Again, kids that seem to be online a lot and are referencing sex or appear needy or submissive or want some sort of connection probably means that they're missing that in their real life. So those traffickers find that as an easy target for kids and for people online. And then that's when they start building that relationship in order to kind of start grooming that person for those activities that they want to get them involved with. Just so you know, as an added thing, as we kind of wrap this portion up, is that the same exact chemical in your brain that is released when we do something that we enjoy, like, you know, achieve a really long hike and see a beautiful view at the top, or we eat chocolate, or, you know, we have sex, anything that's a pleasurable activity for us, the same chemical in our brain gets released when we get likes on social media. If we go viral, that same chemical gets released. And so those things can be addicting, and our brain and our body craves those things, which is why kids will get really obsessed and involved with doing things online to get likes or to go viral. Like I mentioned before, there are people that are making millions of dollars on TikTok for doing things. And with that, you know, every kid is saying, I can do that too, I can do that too. And just know that they could be chasing that dopamine rush that they're looking for by being able to go viral or get as many likes as possible on social media. Jeannie, back to you.
Thank you, Amber. So just if you want to know more, and as I said, I will be sending some handouts to you. And these are some sites where there's more information about to learn about trafficking and particularly internet safety. Shared Hope International is a really good one. They have a lot of free materials about, particularly about online safety, about how to talk to your child about internet safety and those kinds of things. Then they also have some paid materials, some books and the video you see there, Chosen. That Chosen video is actually appropriate to show to a teenager to talk about trafficking. So that is one site that is very helpful to you for people to learn more. And also, this is a video that you can watch on YouTube. It is free, and if actually, there's a typographical error in that. It's Common Threads. There's an H in there. And I usually search for also Project No Rest. That's the organization that sponsors that video. It's about 7 minutes long, and it talks about, has 4 different little scenarios about common ways that people wind up being trafficked. So if you just want to have just a quick overview, 7 minutes, and there's how you can access that video. There's again, here's the human trafficking hotline that I've mentioned multiple times because it's important. The materials for today came from these sites here. I mentioned Polaris Project, and I'll send you a handout from them, as well as Shared Hope International and Project No Rest that I mentioned earlier. Here is Amber's and my contact information. If you would like to know more, we would be happy to talk to you at any time. And I think, and Melissa just put that in the chat for us. Also, as a reminder for you that our community cafe is coming up in a couple of weeks on the 26th. That's Wednesday morning. It is always the 4th Wednesday of the month. And this month we are talking about community resilience and wellness. And we have several different people from throughout the community talking about ways that we can help keep ourselves well. And particularly, we're going to be talking about the community resiliency model, which is a great way that we can use what we know about our bodies and about our brains to help manage our responses. We manage those things when we're triggered because of trauma or stress, how we can manage those behaviors. So definitely invite you to come and hear about that next month.
All right. Well, great. Thank you so much, Jeannie and Amber, for sharing your expertise on this subject. This is a great time if anyone has questions. I know through the Q&A, Stephanie just placed a comment in there, so I just want to share this with you. So Stephanie says there are age requirements that are for some social media. I've noticed that teens receive porn advertisement. So I have talked to parents to make sure they know the potential information the kids have been exposed to. So great point. That really focuses on monitoring your kiddos when they're on any of the social media. So any other questions? Feel free to use the raise your hand feature or type your question into the Q&A. All right, Amber and Jeannie, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are there any typical questions you get when you do this presentation that you might want to share with folks?
Let me go back and just want to actually repeat something. Amber mentioned it, and that is that there are a lot of really good online resources to help us teach our children about being safe. She had a slide that had a lot of different sites. There's one called NetSmarts that has a lot of really good, they have free videos, and we love it when they're free videos, even starting preschool age appropriate information about talking to children about online safety. Things you don't want to tell somebody you don't know, and those sorts of things. So I think that's one thing that comes up a lot. One other thing just to mention is that there are agencies in our area that help to support survivors of trafficking. When someone has managed to leave or has been rescued from trafficking, then there are places where they can go to help them receive services and deal with all that trauma that they've experienced. Amber, can you think of anything else that I didn't mention?
I was also going to add about the online resources. There are also videos, and on some of those websites, there's some like quizzes for kids to take. So it's like an online activity, and they feel like they're doing something productive, but it's actually like an educational thing in regards to like asking questions about online safety, like things like what should my username be, and they go through and talk about the importance of not putting super identifying information and what that looks like. And so they're engaging online, but it's also an educational tool as well. So that's a great resource to mention too.
And one other thing also is that when people say, what can I do? How can we stop this? The two most important ways are, first, educate yourself, which you've all done today by taking part in this cafe. And the second is tell others. So again, you're going to get handouts and a lot of information, and tell others. We want everybody to know and to be aware and to try to stop and to protect our young people from getting involved in this.
Thanks, Jeannie and Amber, all great points. So I had one question come in. Will the PowerPoint be shared? Yes, it will be shared. It is actually going to be posted on our website. You'll find it under the members tab. So all of our member cafes are recorded and posted, so you'll get that. And then also, as Jeannie mentioned, she's going to share some handouts with us, and we'll make sure that we get those out to you based on your registration. Okay. So I'm not seeing anything else in the Q&A. I don't think that I haven't addressed. So any more questions? All right. Well, thank you again to Amber and Jeannie for joining us and sharing this important information with us. So at this time, what we're going to do is go over some general information about Partners Health Management and how you can call to get help. Jeannie and Amber, you are most welcome to stay with us, but also know that you might be busy with some other things. So feel free to step out at this time, and then just get those handouts to us, and we'll make sure that we get that out to those who have attended today. All right, so let's talk about Partners. As you all know, Partners is a health plan. We are a health plan for Medicaid and state funded dollars. We're charged by the state to administer Medicaid for the behavioral health population that relies, again, on Medicaid for those with intellectual and developmental disabilities, mental health, substance use disorders, and traumatic brain injury. I know you all have heard about Medicaid transformation across the state, so things are changing just rapidly. They're changing. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So we also provide advocacy and support and education, as we're providing today, education for our members and families. And we have an access call line. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a crisis call center for behavioral health concerns or mobile crisis. And that number is right there on your screen. And Melissa's also popped it into the chat for us. It is 1-888-235-HOPE or 4673. So let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. So currently we serve 14 counties. Just over the last few months, we've had some additional counties join us. Cabarrus, Stanley, and Union joined us in September, and then Davie and Forsyth joined us in November. So if you have any questions about your specific county, you can see an email address right there on your screen, which I know Melissa is going to drop into the chat as well, countyquestions@partnersbhm.org. You could also call the number that's noted there, 833-589-2184. Or you can go to our website, welcometopartners.com, to view any of information and any of our previously recorded events. So member engagement. Member engagement is sponsoring this event for you today. So we are a team that is really an extension of our call center, providing you additional customer service. We talk with members, especially if you don't really know what to ask, who to call. Sometimes you might be uncertain. So you are welcome to call our member engagement line, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. We offer resources, advocacy, education, and navigation of the North Carolina Public Behavioral Health System. So we also work together with our internal departments to collaborate together, and also with the community to support our members in as many ways as we can. So if we go on to the next slide, what you'll see is how you can contact us. So right in the center there where it says, do you have questions? You can see that there's that member engagement line again, 704-884-2729. That line brings you directly into member engagement, and our goal is to answer it live, and we will talk with you and get you to the person you need to get to in Partners, or we'll work with you together on whatever the issue may be. You can also contact us by email if that's your preference. Just send an email to memberquestions@partnersbhm.org. And so if we move on to the next slide, one thing I do want to tell you is if you do send us an email, we are required here at Partners to really keep your information as safe as possible. And that includes our email. So because of that, we keep our emails safe with something called ZixCore. And so this keeps all of your private healthcare information safe. No one else can access it. And your email will look like this. And you can see right there in that red circle, it says open message. So you're going to click on that when you get the email from us. And as we move on to the next slide, it's going to show you what'll happen if you haven't emailed with us before. So that very first time, it will ask you to set up a password for you. Once you have that password set up, you can use that each time and you won't have to do it again. And that will enable us to communicate with you via email as safely as possible, and to keep all of that private healthcare information safe. So, and then on our next slide here, this is just a little bit about our website. So on our website, you'll see several tabs across the top. One of them is the member tab. Right there in the center, you can see all the different topics that are underneath that member tab. So just for example, if you click on crisis help, you're gonna get some information about a phone number. You may see some information about finding the closest walk-in center to use for walk-in help, for advocacy. You can also search for providers. So just a myriad of things, and access education and training. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is Member Connect. On our website, when you log in, you will also see to the upper right-hand corner, Member Connect. This is a way for, if you are a member, you have someone with Medicaid, that you can log in to a member portal and access information specifically about you or a family member. So the next thing I wanted to share information with you about is on the next slide, and it is about our Pix Health mobile app. Did y'all know that we have a mobile app that you can register for? This mobile app is really focused on monitoring and your mental health, loneliness. So we encourage you to register for the app. You can download it right onto your phone. So if you look at our screen there, right in the center, you would go to www.hipix.com to download the app. It focuses on daily mood and wellness check-ins, as I mentioned, screenings, messages, and assistance. There's also a compassionate support call center that you can chat with. When you chat with the PICS call center, they are all peers, so individuals who also have experienced mental health diagnoses and have lived experience. So it gives you the ability to talk to the folks at PICS Health for support. So also available on our website is Aunt Bertha. This is another resource that you can use to access resources in your community, such as food pantry, medical care, etc. You're simply going to pop your zip code in there and click on that search button, and it's going to give you some resources in the community that you may want to access. And on our next two slides, most important, so who do you call if you need assistance? So if you have a brain injury or a traumatic brain injury, you can call our Access to Call department. Mentioned that phone number before to you. It's that phone number that's open 24/7. It's 1-888-235-HOPE. And you can call them and discuss potential resources. You just want to mention to them about the brain injury or TBI. So currently, TBI, there is a TBI waiver that's being piloted in the Raleigh area. And there should be services across the state at a later time. So once you call in, you will be added to our system so that when that waiver is available, we will be able to contact you. So a great way to get connected. So, and then on the next slide, who to call. You may notice there it says enrollment broker. So this is in relation to Medicaid transformation as we moved towards the standard plan. So some of our members have moved over to the standard plan. Just means they continue to receive their Medicaid, but they're working with another health plan. So we have 5 different health plans across the state. And those of you who are more complex, that have more complex diagnoses, you may have an IDD diagnosis or severe and persistent mental illness, you have stayed here with us at Partners. And you also can reach back out to Partners if you are with the standard plan. Your enrollment broker can help you with that, or your provider. You just want to make a request to them. Also wanted to point out, if you had questions with the standard plan, you can reach out to the North Carolina Medicaid Ombudsman. Again, another place where you can get assistance. So I mentioned Medicaid transformation. So again, just a lot going on in North Carolina about Medicaid. So what do you do if you and your family need a behavioral health service that's not covered by the standard plan? I mentioned that, but I just want to go ahead and reiterate that. A member and provider discuss what the services members, what you need. You're going to discuss that with your current provider. They're going to help you by filling out a form to transfer you back to Partners to get some more intense services. The provider is going to go ahead and submit that form. It's going to come over to us. We're going to take a look at it and make sure that that transition is as smooth as possible for you to get the services that you need. So Medicaid continues to transform across the state, and the next step, the next phase that we go into is moving into what's called the tailored plan. And that is going to occur December 1st of this year, December 1st, 2022. So you'll continue to hear more information from us about the tailored plan, where we at Partners will become a tailored plan and really focus on the individuals that have more complex needs. And then just really quickly, we're getting close to time. So the Registry of Unmet Needs, you may or may not have heard of that. That is the waiting list for the Innovations Waiver Services. Too long to wait, and the North Carolina Waiver Action Team. This is a group of folks in the Triad area. It was an IDD advisory board that formed this action team. And their goal was to improve awareness and to address the needs of people with IDD. They have gained the attention of our North Carolina legislature. So if you would like to hear more about what the action team is up to, you can visit ncwaiveractionteam.com. Just a great way to stay in tune and be educated with what's going on with the waiting list for the North Carolina Innovations Waiver. Just a few more things that I wanted to share with you is grievances. So a grievance is a concern or complaint. And as a member of Partners or any MCO across North Carolina, this is a way for you to let the MCO let them know what's going on. Whether it's a concern, a complaint, this is a way you can let us know. If you don't tell us, we won't know what's going on. So you may file a grievance about any matter in regards to a provider. It could be something you're not comfortable with or satisfied with. You can also file a grievance in regards to the MCO. So again, I encourage you to do so. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment here. Again, if you have a concern or a complaint, the best thing to do is to let us know so that we can assist and support you. So moving on to the next screen, this shares a little bit with how you can file a grievance. So there's really several ways to do that. You can call our 1-888-235-HOPE Access to Care Center, HOPE, which is 4673. You could also mail a grievance to Partners Health Management. The address is right there on your screen. You can email grievances@partnersbhm.org, or you can go online and use our feedback form, and the link is located there, which Melissa has just dropped into our chat. You also can talk with any employee here at Partners to file a grievance. So just want to let you know that there are a lot of ways, and we want to be able to help you with your concerns and effectively resolve your issues and better serve you. So another thing I wanted to share with you quickly is about our Human Rights Committee. We do have a Human Rights Committee, and the purpose of this committee is to ensure that individuals' rights are being met. You know, it really just creates a process to discuss and review and track concerns. Again, our goal is always to make sure that we're serving you to the best way possible. It ensures procedures and plans to not violate human rights, and works to ensure services are offered in the partner service area. So next, CFAC. You all may have heard of CFAC. CFAC stands for Consumer and Family Advisory Committee. This is a group of members. They're volunteers and serve on the committee and represent all of our specialty areas: mental health, IDD, substance use disorder, traumatic brain injury. And they are here to bring a member voice to the MCO. And I want to encourage you to stay in touch with us. So you always want to keep your information up to date, because partners may need to contact you. So if you move, change your address, change your phone number, give us a call. You can reach out to us at the Access call line, 888-235-HOPE. If you do have Medicaid, you want to be sure to call your Department of Social Services directly and update your information. Super important. They send mail out to you. That's incredibly important. They may be trying to get a hold of you with the phone number. So it's really important that you keep everyone up to date when you change your contact information. If you receive state funds, you're going to want to contact the access number. If you have a care coordinator, you can work through your care coordinator, but just keep us up to date so that you can stay up to date with information. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. It is, we have 4 minutes to go. So if you have any questions, you could have popped them into the Q&A for us. So let me take a quick look there. And let's see, Donika asked if the TBI waiver has started in Cabarrus County yet. So no, at this time, the TBI waiver is only still located in the pilot area, which is in the Raleigh area, Wake County through Alliance. So that's the status of this at that time. But again, if that's something you're interested in, make sure that you do call our access line so that we have your information. So when that waiver is available to our counties, then we can make sure that you have that information. So any other questions for us today? All right, so just be sure if you are interested, Melissa has dropped all this great information, contact information, and links into the chat for you to easily, quickly copy and paste that so you have that for your information. And again, our PowerPoint and information will be posted on our website under the members tab, and we will have some additional information that Jeannie and Amber are sharing with us to share with you as well. You'll get that via email. So again, thanks for joining us. We're going to hang out here for just a few minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free to hang on here and talk with us or set up a time so that we can talk with you together. So thanks again, and y'all have a great afternoon. Bye-bye now.